All right, in this video, we're working on a Craftsman Snowblower 5/23, a little bit old school. It's got the track drive on it. I believe it starts, I believe it runs, but we just want to service it, make sure it's ready to go out and move some snow. So I'm going to start just by making some general observations. So I'm going to pull off the belt cover. It's just two little 10mm bolts. You just want to visually inspect the belts. See if they're cracked, they're dry rotted, anything like that. Because if they are, we need to replace them. Otherwise, customer's going to go to use it and then it's not going to work. So the belts look good. I'm going to tilt it up here and inspect the auger. It's got grease fittings, so we'll need to grease that. Shear pins are there. And then manually turning this over, looks like that is spinning these, so that is good. All right, well, let's just try to start it up. Got it on full throttle, full choke. The key is in. We'll prime it. To die when I put it to off, but it's also like really cold. Like today was like 5 degrees below zero. It's not that in my garage, but let's let it warm up some more. And actually, before I start it back up, I'm gonna pull the heat box off here, heat shroud. I forget what they call this thing. I just want to inspect the gas line and the prime line and make sure that it's not rotted or anything like that. This sucker's tight. You gotta actually, I guess I gotta move the twisty deal. Whatever you call that. Now that prime line looks good. The gas line looks decent. I mean, the clamp that holds it on is not on. So let's scoot that back over. The prime line seems to be, usually that comes down underneath here. But it's on top. That's okay. It's not hitting the linkage or anything. And this particular model actually has, you can see it right here, on that little screw with the spring on it. That's for your idle side, so you can actually adjust the mixture. And then on the underside, you can see that bolt right here. Up, right there. That is for your high side. I love these carburetors because you can dial them in for your location. Most new stuff today, with all the regulations and crap like that, you don't get those adjustments. So I'm gonna leave the heat shield off. We're gonna get it start back up, get it warm, and make some adjustments. good. I love these carburetors. So you could hear the engine. I have earmuffs on because the thing is loud, but I can hear it. I can tell when it's about to die. So on that idle setting, I can either richen it or lean it. And then you go up to, full throttle. And then you adjust that bolt on the bottom. And you get that dialed in for, rich, lean, where it needs to be. But we're gonna finish getting this on. I'm gonna check the spark plug and then we'll go on from there. 2 grease zerks, 1 on each side. So you want to pump grease in it till you see it coming out. So depending on when it was done last, it might take a little bit of grease. This one, it came out pretty quick. It nicely gooped out. Ugh. All right, that one's coming out too. Perfect. I also want to set the height at what the scraper hits the ground. You don't want that dragging. So I have an old pair of skids that I use. I use that as my spacer. And then I loosen these and push them down against the ground and then tighten them back up. So I'll do the same thing to the other side. All right, now we want to inspect the underside of this belly here. So you got 2 bolts, 3/8. Yes. You loosen them and then you've got to wiggle up. See, there's all these little hooks on there. So now I'm just inspecting the friction disc and the wheel that, turns everything. Make sure it's not eaten up. This isn't grooved. Make sure we have no broken springs. I'm gonna put a little grease on the gears here. And then we'll also put some grease on the shaft that the gear selector runs on. And then we'll move it. So that way it's a little bit easier to get around. There's no easy way to spin this guy. So you just kind of have to put this grease on the teeth and on this thing up here. And then before you put it back together, make sure to get any grease off of this friction disc because it needs friction. So if there's grease on it, it's not going to catch and it's not going to move. So make sure you clean all that up. All right, now we just put our pan back on. All right, the other thing that I'm looking at is the tension of these cables. The auger was spinning. It was going into gear just fine. You can see the handle. You kind of just move it and there's tension. And when you pull down, that is pretty tight. If you were to pull down and this was still loose, there's adjustment in here and you can change that. Same thing on the other side. These got good tension in them, so I don't need to do that. And it was going into the forward gears and the reverse gears as it should. If it wasn't, you would make adjustments to this shaft right here. All right, I hope that helped you out. If you have any questions, just put it down in the comments below and I'll get